Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to Wargame Shelf Tour number 3, the series where we explore 10 semi-random wargames off the shelves behind me and talk about what I like about them or what I hope to like about them and why they're in the collection. Let's jump right in and get started. All right, let's jump in and get started. Our first up, Normandy 44 from GMT Games. I'm a sucker for D-Day games and U-boat games, as some of you may know. And I should also qualify, we're going to look at 10 games, right? And 9 of these games I've yet to play. So one of my goals last year was to build up a collection. And I've been playing a lot of games, but I might be buying a few more games than I'm playing at this point in time. Just saying, I'm sure nobody else does that. But so, yeah, these are all, they're not on the shelf of guilt list yet because I am making progress with games and stuff like that. But these are ones I hope to get to this year for sure. And the first one here, Normandy 44. I've heard a ton of good things about the Mark Simonich series. I have the Stalingrad one and the Salerno ones coming in as well. And so I'm really excited to dig into these series. And I think this looks like just a fantastic kind of hex encounters World War II type of game based on the Normandy invasion, of course. So really looking forward to digging into this one. I've heard great things about the system, and I'm also looking to compare it to, I know we looked at, I think, the Dark Summer in a previous episode. I'm looking to compare how these two games kind of go up against each other. How are they similar and how are they different? So hopefully at some point in the channel, that might be something we can do as well. So speaking, however, of D-Day, I think this is coming to the channel sooner than later. I've been watching a person playing D-Day at Peleliu, and I've heard that the D-Day at Omaha Beach one is really good. I bought this kind of on a whim a few months ago and thinking, oh, this would be really cool, because I think one of the things that distinguishes this game is that it's a solitaire game with a ton of agency and a very unique AI that puts up an incredible challenge. I've heard it's almost impossible to win this game, right? But the losing of the game is fun, and then when you lose, you immediately want to play again because you want to see if you can do better than you did last time. And I was watching a video on this last night and hearing some people talk about the Peleliu one, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be really fun. So I think sooner than later, I really want to work a solo playthrough of this game. And so I think that's going to be coming up quickly as a challenge. I mean, it's D-Day. It's got a fantastic AI. The system is supposed to be incredibly unique and challenging. And it's got kind of, I think that, in the PC, the computer genre, we talk about rogue games, where you're pretty sure you're going to lose, right? But each time you get a little bit better, a little bit farther. And then finally, after you play maybe 15 to 20 times, you finally beat the game. And I feel like this kind of falls into a very rare solitaire war game category, which would be that kind of rogue category. And I love rogue games on the PC. And I'm particularly looking to see how this AI can challenge a human player and the system that's been set up for it. So really excited about this one, and I think this is coming to the channel sooner than later. So that's our D-Day theme for this. Next up, we have Pensacola. So there was a couple of local wargamers that were moving or they were cleaning their shelves up, and this was a toss-in game. He said, if you get like 2, you can get a third one. He said, do you want Pensacola? And I said, yeah, sure, that works out great. This is the GMT series here, the Battles of the American Revolution. This is volume 6, in which I think there's probably 9 or more games in this one, each one which looks at an individual battle in the American Revolution. So I'm excited to play this one. I think this as well. I was watching a video on a different game in this series, and it looks like it would make a really fun video to make as well, because they're relatively self-contained games. I think the length on this one here, does it say how long it takes to play? It doesn't really, but I don't think it's very long. It's probably like maybe a 2 to 3 hour game to play through a whole scenario, and so I think that would fit really well into a potential video series. And I don't have very many games about the American Revolution. I have the 1 to 3 games in the series, that tri-pack of this as well, that we'll look at some point in time. But I think this will be a fun game to dig into. And I'm excited now, I think in this year too, I'm excited to play more games about kind of conflicts that I'm not familiar with, as well as some of the kind of the smaller and less known conflicts around the world. So I think that's going to be kind of a fun little expansion of wargaming in the current year. This is the one I've played. Assault from the Sky, which is the air assault on Crete, Avalon Hill's game of the invasion of Crete in World War II. And you get 2 for the price of 1, Invasion of Malta, that kind of a hypothetical game, but it's a much smaller game. You can play it in like an hour. I played this one before when I was wargaming like 20 years ago, and it's a fun Hex Encounters game with a lot of different unique challenges. So at some point, I'd love to dig back into this one. I do want to kind of keep that balance. I know I've been playing mostly newer games, but I definitely want to kind of explore the history of wargaming a little bit. And I was going through last night and kind of recording all of the older games that I have. And I have a pretty wide collection, not wide collection, but maybe, I want to say 10 to 20 of those strategy and tactics magazines that have the games in them, which would be fun to look at, as well as maybe 10 to 20 kind of the older Avalon Hill games and some of the SPI games that came in those plastic boxes as well. So probably like 30, 40 games altogether that'd be fun to kind of look at. So I want to kind of bring those into the wargaming shelf tours and the unboxing and some of the playthroughs as we go through this year too. So excited to kind of revisit this one if it's is still as entertaining as I remember it being before. All right. Here we are. Oh, this is so heavy. Why? I can't even, you probably can't even see my head behind this one. This box is so big. If you dropped it on someone, it would probably kill them. This is massive. Why did I get this? I mean, really, what was I thinking? Well, I know what I was thinking. And actually, in all defense here, if you can still see my head here, I don't regret getting this. I'm super excited to play it. It's on my bucket list to do. This is the World in Flames, which you're not familiar with. It's like the entire World War II conflict on one massive map. Now, I have a table that can fit it, but the campaign game here, it says it takes 120 hours, and I think that's if you actually know how to play. So I suspect that the first campaign game would be much longer. Now, there are a ton of smaller scenarios in this as well, so you can kind of work up to that bigger one. The rules are complex. The complexity is high. Not only did I get the regular game, really, what was I thinking? Not only did I get the regular game, I got the collector's edition, which has more ships and stuff and unique stuff. So it looked like, for what you get for the box, right, it's not a bad deal, okay, because it's not a cheap game. But what you get in the box is really almost like a whole World War II in a box in incredible detail. My thought when I got this, right, was that I was going to play this game, set it up over the winter, and then make a video of it and play it. That was naive me about 5 months ago when I started to dig back into wargaming. It's like, oh, I got to play the biggest game that's out there, one of the biggest games that's out there. But what I didn't realize is that the problem with that is that, a 200-hour game, right, actually isn't that long when you think about PC computer gaming. I've played role-playing games that have been between 100 and 150 hours, right? And it actually is manageable if you set aside a chunk of time in the evening for a couple months. You can make through it. You can make your way through it and have a ton of fun. So I don't think the time limit per se is the problem. The problem is the table space, right? Because if I have this set up all over the table, this is the only game that's on the table for 1 or 2 months, which really kind of limits things in terms of especially creating videos and stuff like that. But this is on my bucket list. I got to figure out some way, sometime, I want to play the campaign game of this and make a video of the whole thing. Not the whole thing. Obviously, you'd cut parts out and condense it so that someone watching isn't going to watch 200 hours of you playing a game, but to condense it down into a video format that's digestible and still tells that story. So that's the goal. I have not given up. I think I really should start this year with some of the scenarios in this. I've heard really good things about it. I know it's a ton of fun. But yeah, that campaign game, challenge accepted. I just have to be able to do it. But I still do think, why? What was I thinking of when I bought this? But I do not have regrets. I mean, if I don't get to it this year, then I would have regrets, right? Not the campaign game, but if I don't start digging in and playing some of the scenarios this year, yes, I'll have regrets. So this is definitely coming up in 2022. Now, if I can just move it. Oh, good Lord. It weighs 50 pounds. And it comes from Australia. That's amazing. Okay, on a little different scale, 300, which is teeny, right? It's small. I won this from Nuts Publishing in their 10th anniversary competition on Twitter. I guessed one of the answers to their questions, right? And so I got a free game, 300. This is game, of course, Persians versus Greeks. It plays really fast, 2-player game. I think it plays in under an hour. For when I see this, I'm reminded much of kind of Shores of Tripoli, which has very kind of it's not an abstract nature game, but the combat is simplified, everything is simplified, yet it provides a lot of opportunity for deep thinking challenges. So I'm very excited to dig into this one. I've also noticed that this, as well as Shores of Tripoli, is on the Rally the Troops new digital platform, which is created by this, I think it's one guy in Sweden who just built this platform. And there's about 5 or 6 games right now, and they're incredibly well done. So if you have played this game and are looking for kind of to play an opponent, I'd be up for playing some people 2-player on that platform to check it out as well. First off is I have to learn it and get it out. I think we'll do an unboxing on this pretty well. But thank you again to Nuts Publishing for sending this along. They had a really cool competition. I think it gave out like 10 games. And this is the brand new edition, 2nd edition, I think, which just came out recently. So yeah, a little different scale and much lighter than World in Flames. So there we go. Oh, okay. This is somewhat like World in Flames in that it's one of those kind of grand strategic games about Europe. Now, this is Unconditional Surrender. Still has a campaign game that I know takes quite a long time to play. But unlike World in Flames, I think the design of this game has been to simplify things. A lot of the combat and movement and economics behind kind of that strategic World War II element have been simplified. So my understanding on this one is that it's got an incredibly strong following. A lot of people really like this game. And it's one of those games too where I want to say that, I'm not sure how to quite say this. I think there's a lot of games where people really like them and they play them once, and then there's a lot of games where people really like them and they play them like dozens of times. And I get a sense that people who really like this game, it's one of those games that gets played a lot. You'll play it once and you immediately want to play again. It's got incredible depth and replayability to it. Very excited to get into it. I have started reading the rules on this one. And one of the other reasons why I got this one is because it has a lot of kind of hypothetical twists to it within the scope of not being super unrealistic. Okay, so you're not going to take kind of Spain and take over the whole world, but there's a lot of different options you have, especially if you play the Axis forces in terms of how you expand and what you do for political arrangements and where you start and when you start your battle. So I understand it does a really good job of balancing that kind of hypothetical exploration that would have been part of the World War II panorama. I mean, we see World War II now in a historical perspective along a very linear path, the path that it took. But there is a ton of potential, I think, in gaming to explore the what-ifs in World War II. And I think this is a game that does that very, very well from what I've heard about it. So excited that this is in the collection. I got a used copy. I think it was off eBay or Board Game Geek or something like that. So really excited to dig in because it's hard to find now. So I'm excited for this one. And I think kind of, well, no, I guess I like all levels of wargaming, right? The tactical, the operational, and the strategic and things. So I was going to say I really like strategic games, but I like them all. I like mixing them up, I guess is the way to put it. So this one was another one of those toss-in games. There was someone selling a game that I wanted on eBay, and they had this one up as well, and I put a bid on it and didn't think I would get it, but then it just kind of slipped through and I picked it up. So I was able to combine shipping and get it for a super real kind of reasonable price. I don't know much about it, right? But it's got 2 words I like, which is Stalingrad and Solitaire. Now, I've seen a video on it, and I wonder if it's a little bit more of an abstract take on the battle. And I tend to not favor, or I tend to enjoy more realistic kind of granular simulation type games than I do very, very abstract games. But I'm kind of curious to see where this falls on that continuum of gameplay. But I think it's got a topic I like, and it's solitaire, so it's going to be fun to give it a try. I think it's challenging. I watched a video on it really cool, and the gameplay looked pretty good. So something to explore this year. I don't think it says playing time 2 hours and up. Oh, gosh, the one I saw seemed like it went along faster than that. So I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out. But I think this is kind of a rainy day, kind of let's open up something and poke around with it and see how it works type of game. If you've played it, I'd be curious to hear what you think. I don't know very much about it, honestly, other than kind of what I've seen on the box and 10 minutes of watching a video. But I do, again, like the terms and are looking forward to it. All right, game number 9 in our 10. By Stealth and Sea. Now, you may be saying, too, I did mention, again, I'm just being totally upfront, that I haven't played these games. These are 9 out of the 10 games I haven't played yet, and this one's still in shrink wrap. And I do have a rule that until I do the unboxing video, I don't open up the shrink wrap on a game. So that's why some of these games are still in the shrink wrap. And again, a few of them were picked up used and stuff. This one is making me feel a little bit guilty because I saw a presentation by David Thompson, the designer of this game. And I think this was co-designed. Yeah, David Thompson and Nicola Sagini designed this one together. This is about Italian human torpedoes during the Second World War. So these guys would basically just ride a torpedo underwater and then blow up ships with them. I mean, what an amazing concept to think that human beings actually did this. And I saw a game designer at a conference and said, I got to get this. And at that time, it was really hard to get. And then it came back in stock and I picked up a copy. So it's a solitaire game as well, which I think is really fun about this. And the thing I liked about watching that playthrough, and I think this game does very, very well, and one of the things that I like about games in general, this is kind of falls into that, I think, that narrative gameplay, certain games have stories and certain games evoke stories. You can build the story as you play, and they just tell stories, and each one is different. I put kind of the U-boat games, the Hunters games, and the Submarine series games on that, where each time you play, the story of your ship is quite a bit different. And I feel like this, I believe it has a campaign game in it as well, that you play over a number of scenarios in a row, and you're trying to keep people alive and things like that. But I think this game falls into that category, where the story of your battles is as interesting as the gameplay. They weave together, and you just create this really cool narrative of gameplay that's a lot of fun. And again, I really want to get this one to the table fast. I am calming down on buying games. I know that's my goal, because I feel like I've got enough to play right now to last for the rest of the year and then some. But I do hope to get this one to the table at some point in 2022 and make a series of it, because it was a ton of fun to watch, and I think it would make for a great series on the channel, again, partly because not only because of its gameplay, but because of its storytelling ability. So looking forward to getting this one to the table and checking it out. And I really enjoy the concept. And again, it's kind of like submarines with torpedoes and stuff like that, which I'm a sucker for. If you make a game about subs and torpedoes and stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm there. So yeah, by Stealth and DVG Games, and designed by David Thompson and Nicola Saghini. Our last one. Oh, this one's heavy as well too. I've been looking for this one for a long time, because I believe it's still out of stock on GMT's website, and it's been out of stock for quite a while. This is Fire in the Lake, Coin Volume 4, about the Vietnam conflict. Really excited this year. Another one of my goals is to dig into the Coin series. And Fire in the Lake is a game that I was looking for a long time, because I think of all the Coin series games, and there's a number of them. I think, are they over 10 right now? I think this, from a conflict standpoint, is the most interesting of the games that I've seen so far. So I really think playing this conflict interests me, as well as digging into the Coin series. Now, I've heard it's not necessarily the best starting point for the Coin series, and maybe people that are more familiar with it than I am can like drop a comment down below. I've heard it's maybe a harder place to start with the Coin series, but I'm definitely looking at working my way up there. This was one of those games that a local wargamer was leaving the area, I think, and had up for sale at a very kind and generous price. So I thank you for doing that. And I'm excited to get this one to the board. And I think these, because they have such a strong solitaire mode, again, would also be very good games for bringing to video format and bringing on the channel. And I think the only challenge with those, they're kind of long and complex, and so how do you condense that down into a video format? But looking forward to the challenge. So there we go, 10 games for 2022, 9 of which I have yet to play, and one of which I haven't played for 20 years. So a lot of stuff to kind of dig into and look at. Let me know what you think of the games that kind of we showed today. Have you played some of them? Which ones do you like? You got a favorite? Any one of the 10 in particular that you'd be interested to see come to the channel sooner rather than later? Although I do confess, I'm kind of set on D-Day at Omaha Beach. I'm really excited to dig into that one, despite the fact, all these games are wonderful and fine and stuff like that, but I'm really excited to dig into D-Day at Omaha Beach. And at the other end of the spectrum is somehow, some way to figure out to make an epic video on an entire campaign game of World in Flames. Challenge accepted. It's on my bucket list. I don't think that'll be this year, but at some point, I want to do that on the channel too. So, and anyway, there we have it, 10 games. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to hear comments and stuff like that. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, please consider subscribing. Wargaming content has been light for the past month because I haven't really had a ton of access to the Wargaming table. But my goal for the back half of February and the first half of January is for 15 of the 30 videos I hope to post in this month, and a month of 30 days or so, to be on Wargaming. So this is number 1. So 14 more wargaming videos to go. So looking forward to digging in some games, getting some gameplay sessions going, and creating some videos, some unboxings and stuff like that, and a couple of reviews as always. So let me know what you think. Have a great day, and thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the weekend.